Greetings and welcome back to MBA559. In this session, we'll extend industry and competitive analysis beyond the basics and prepare you to analyze fast-changing, technology-enabled markets. By the end, you'll be able to explain the limits of traditional industry analysis, recognize when industries tip into winner-take-all dynamics, incorporate complements and ecosystems into your thinking, use business models as strategy tools, analyze competitive interaction with game theory, and competitor analysis, and segment industries to find profit pools and strategic groups. I'll teach this as if you do not have anything to lose. The limits of industry analysis. Let us start with a grounding question. Does industry actually matter? Classic five forces logic assumes that industry structure drives firm conduct and firm performance, and that structure is fairly stable. In practice, firm effects are often larger than industry effects, and structure is not always stable. Think about what the entry of low-cost airlines did to the structure of air travel, or what streaming did to cable bundles. The takeaways for you as strategists is simple. Five forces are useful, but they are a snapshot. You must be ready to analyze how strategy choices today can change tomorrow's structure. Two mechanisms explain why structure does not stand still. Schumpeterian competition. That's innovation repeatedly overturns incumbents. Smartphones displaced feature phones, then apps displaced many pre-existing software categories. Hyper-competition. Rivalry is intense. Moves are rapid and advantageous. In markets like consumer electronics or digital marketing tools, product cycles are short and firms win by initiating a sequence of small, fast moves rather than by defending one big moat. When you write an industry memo this quarter, add a short section titled, How Structure Could Change. List two moves your firm or rival could make that would shift bargaining power, raise or lower entry barriers, or introduce substitutes. This trains you to think beyond static five forces logic. Winner takes all industries. Sometimes the idea of general industry attractiveness loses meaning because one or two firms capture nearly all the profits. These situations arise under two conditions: extreme economies of scale or scope that push unit costs down as volume rises. Think cloud infrastructure at hyperscale. Strong networks affect where the value of a product rises with the number of users, partners, or data points. Think social networks or dominant ad exchanges. Signals that a space is tipping. Rapid concentration of market share, accelerating multi-homing costs for users, and complements that plug in more easily to one platform than others. As strategists, you should ask two questions early. 1. Can my firm be the platform or indispensable bottleneck? 2. If not, can we specialize in a high-margin niche that depends on the platform without competing head-to-head? Beyond five forces. Complements. Complements are products or services that raise the value of your offer when used together. Printers and ink, consoles and games, smartphones and apps, electric vehicles, and charging networks. Complements change industry economics in two ways. First, they increase total willingness to pay, which expands the size of the value pie. Second, complementers can gain bargaining power over time, especially when users feel locked in to the combined bundle. Manage your playbook. Invest in key complements when they are underprovided. For example, building developer tools and documentation for a new platform. Price the core product to expand the total pie. Then capture value on the complement side or through recurring services. Form alliances with complementors, but build options to switch or multi-source to keep bargaining power balanced. Here's an idea. Map your focal product in the center of a page. List the 3 most critical complements and identify who controls them. For each complement, note one initiative that would increase its availability or quality. Let's talk about business ecosystems and value migration. An ecosystem is the community of organizations, institutions, and individuals that affect your enterprise. Value migrates within ecosystems over time. Consider how value in the mobile phone ecosystem shifted from hardware margins toward operating systems, app stores, and services, then towards cloud-based subscriptions. Firms that become guardians of quality or that own standards and data often capture a larger share of value as the system evolves. Become irreplaceable by controlling interfaces, standards, or data formats that others depend on. Reconfigure the value chain by moving closer to the customer, for example, bundling hardware with a subscription that locks in ongoing service revenue. Anticipate changes customers need, then reposition before the rivals do. Earlier movers that solve emerging pain points can reduce value flows. Now let's talk about business models as strategy tools. A business model is a simplified description of how a firm creates and captures value. The business model canvas is a useful checklist. Work across 9 boxes, customer segments, value proposition, channels, customer relationships, revenue streams, key resources, key activities, key partners, and cost structure. Strategy comes alive when you experiment across these boxes, not just when you optimize one. Here are some examples. Shift the revenue model. Move from one-time license fee to usage-based or subscription revenue to stabilize cash flow and increase lifetime value. Redesign key partnerships. Create a marketplace so that external partners supply variety while your firm focuses on curation, trust, and payments. Rebalance cost structure. Automate onboarding and support to change a high variable cost model into a high fixed cost, low marginal cost engine that scales. Action for your project. Draft 2 alternative canvases for your firm. Hold every other element constant while you change only revenue and cost logic. Compare expected unit economics and strategic flexibility. Okay, now let's talk about competition interaction using game theory essentials. Game theory frames strategy as independent choices. 4 ideas will help you quickly reason through rival moves. Cooperation. Sometimes firms are better off coordinating. For example, cross-licensing standards can grow a market. The risk is defection, so design credible monitoring and punishment. Deterrence. Change payoffs so rivals do not want to attack. This can include capacity commitments, most favored nation clauses with key buyers, or signaling a willingness to match price cuts in limited geographies rather than across the board. Commitment. Make a move that is hard to reverse, which makes your threat or promise credible. For instance, investing in dedicated tooling that only pays off if you pursue a premium segment. Signaling. Communicate to shape rival expectations. Use milestones, limited pilots, or selective disclosures to hint at cost positions or product roadmaps without revealing trade secrets. Here's a caution. Formal game models can explain past behavior, but predictions are sensitive to assumptions. Use them as structured thought experiments, then validate with real market tests. So now let's talk about competitive interaction. It's a practical competitor analysis framework. For day-to-day work, use a simple 4-part framework. Objectives. What are the competitor's goals, financial targets, and time horizons? Are they meeting them? If not, pressure may rise. Assumptions. What do they believe about the industry, about customers, and about their own capabilities? False assumptions create opportunities. Strategy. How are they positioned on price, features, channel, and scope? Identify the choices that define their identity. Resources and capabilities. Where are they strong or weak? For example, in data assets, manufacturing, partnerships, or brand. Now let's talk about segmentation analysis. Finding attractive spaces. Segmentation means breaking a broad industry into meaningful slices where customers, products, or channels differ in ways that matter for strategy. Follow 5 steps. 1. Identify candidate variables. These usually come from buyer characteristics, product characteristics, and distribution choices. 2. Reduce to 2 or 3 variables that explain the most variance in needs and willingness to pay. 3. Define discrete categories for each variable so that you can build a matrix. 4. Analyze segment attractiveness. For example, growth, margins, rivalry, and bargaining power in each box. And 5. Decide on breadth of scope. Compare the benefits of focus, such as brand clarity and tailored features, with the economies of scope from serving multiple segments. Here's some concrete variables to consider. Buyer characteristics, size, technical sophistication, demographic profile, usage occasion, or original equipment versus replacement purchase. Product characteristics, price tier, performance, design or technology, input, pre-sales, and after-sales services. Channel and geography, specialists versus generalist retailers, exclusive versus non-exclusive channels, region or country-specific requirements. Okay, now let's talk about vertical segmentation and profit pools. Profit pools map where revenue is generated across the value chain and where margins are actually earned. In the auto sector, revenue may be concentrated in manufacturing and sales, but operating margins often concentrate in financing aftermarket parts, service and repair, and warranty products. In the electric vehicle chain, value may migrate towards batteries, charging networks, power management software, and in-car digital services. So let's consider this example of segmenting the bicycle market. In consumer bicycles, you can see 4 clear segments. Low-price bikes sold through discount retailers, children's bikes through toy or mass channels, mid-price bikes sold under manufacturing brands through specialist dealers, and high-price enthusiast bikes. Each segment has distinct key success factors. Low price emphasizes low component and assembly costs plus retailer contracts. Mid-price emphasizes scale, perceived quality, and dealer relationships. High price emphasizes premium components, technology, innovation, and brand reputation, often reinforced by racing success. Children's bikes mirror low-price dynamics with more emphasis on safety and seasonality. What this teaches you, do not average across a whole industry. The industry segment you want to win, then design capabilities and channel choices that match those segment-specific success factors. Okay, now let's talk about strategic groups. Strategic groups are clusters of firms that follow similar strategies. In autos, you can map firms along 2 axes: product range from narrow to broad, and geographic scope from national to global. This reveals distinct groups such as global broadline producers, global producers with a limited range, national specialists, or performance-focused niche producers. In petroleum, mapping geographic scope against vertical balance reveals groups such as super majors, integrated national companies, domestic downstream specialists, and international exploration and product companies. So here's how you use this. Once you place firms on a strategic group map, measure mobility barriers between groups. Ask what capabilities, assets, and reputations would be required to move. If barriers into a more profitable group are high, consider alliances or acquisitions. If barriers into the group are low, prepare for price pressure and differentiation moves. Now let's pull it all together for your course project. When you write your team's analysis this term, include 6 sections. A brief forces snapshot, plus a short paragraph on how structure could change. A diagnosis of complements along with a plan to strengthen one critical component. An ecosystem map that highlights where value is migrating, and a concrete move to become harder to replace. 2 alternative business model canvases with a recommendation and economic rationale. A competitor analysis page and game theory note that anticipates one rival move and your commitment or deterrence response. A segmentation and profit pool map that justifies your chosen scope, either focused or broad, with explicit trade-offs. The big idea for this week is that industry analysis is not a one-time checklist. It's a living view of how value is created, how it shifts, and how your choices can reshape the game. Use these tools to think clearly, then test, learn, and adjust. As always, when you see claims of statistics and readings, verify sources and look for updated data, since markets evolve and links can change over time. I look forward to your insights and to the creativity you'll bring to your team projects. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this 20-minute video. I hope that you have a great day, because only you get to choose how you feel about it. I'm Dr. Paul Gerhardt.